Hey everyone. This is, as you can see up there on the title, is my Oscar review, basically my look at the Oscars last night, which were aired on ABC, in which I recorded. I still got to make a case for that, maybe. Um, I will say this about the Oscars. I thought they were all right. I mean, they weren't, they weren't the best. I mean, if I was to give them a review. Basically, if I was to give it a grade overall, I'd give it an 8.5 out of 10. And the reason I would give it an 8.5 out of 10, folks, is due to the fact that I thought Billy Crystal, coming back for the ninth time as the host, was okay. I mean, I loved how when they began the Oscars, how because one of the things they've been doing a lot throughout the years, they always have the host always doing a montage parody of all the best pictures that are nominated. So I love the fact that they allowed him to do that. I thought it was cool. I mean, the only other picture that he parodied, did a parodization of, in there was Mission Impossible 3, and that wasn't even nominated. So, go figure. But I love the fact that they allowed him to do most of like the artist and do a parody of the artist, the Descendants, and Moneyball, I think, and whatever else. I thought it was cool. Hugo, I think it was the last one he did. So overall, I thought it was all right. I mean, it wasn't, one of the best one of the best parodized montages to begin the Oscars. I thought it was okay. I thought it was cool. The visual effects at the end, special effects were pretty cool too. So it was neat. The presenters that night, they had their moments. I mean, Robert Downey Jr., I love his parodization of the artist by doing a little, because he and Cameron Diaz, I think it was Diaz, I believe. Well, not Diaz, but somebody else. I can't think of her name right now. Um, but I thought they both did a good job when they um, presented the Oscar for Best Documentation or Best Document Film or whatever, or Short Documentary or whatever you want to call it. I thought they did pretty good with that. Um, it kind of shows you that why Marvel always wants Downey Jr. back for Iron Man all the time. So, and again, I thought he was funny when he did his little parodization and send up to the artist. That was pretty cool. Calling it the presenter, even though it was in sound and the artist isn't. Um, I thought it was okay. I liked the bridesmaids' interactions when they did some of the nominations, when they did their three nomination deals. And that was the one thing I found kind of unique this year, because I don't think they did it much last year. They actually allowed the presenters of the awards, of the category, to do not one, but not two, but three categories. That was pretty unique. It was kind of different. One thing I think they do need to improve on this year, from this year on to next year, is they got to make sure they have more best original songs. Now I understand perhaps they felt there was only two with Man or Muppet and Real and Rio, but I thought there was more than that. To be honest, you know, I mean Rio could have easily had one or two more in there. So could have Muppets, and probably any other song when you think about it. Maybe Puss in Boots would have had one in there if if it was musical. Who knows? Maybe even Winnie the Pooh. But then again, I'm probably wishing a little too hard. But anyway, I thought that was one area they needed to improve on, because they didn't even. I mean, last year they had the three nominees sing or perform the songs that they were nominated. So I thought that was one area they need to improve on next year. They didn't even allow the singers of the people that did the songs to perform them like they've been doing. So they need to work on that next year. But Man on Muppet wins the Best Original Song, which I thought was probably the right choice, seeing as though when I listened to it, I thought it was pretty good. And it kind of gives that stamp of approval that the Muppets are back on the big when it comes to big screen movies. Throughout the night, when you watch the Oscars, it kind of made you think, as the awards were being presented, how it looked like at first Hugo was going to run away with it. I mean, it was winning all these awards, and then the artist came back. And that's the one thing I think they need to improve on next year as well. Make sure it looks like an even playing field so that you never know who's going to be winning. Because when you think it's going to be one, and then here comes another, that's what you need to do. You need to get people to think like, is it going to be this movie or is it going to be this movie? And even though it looked like Hugo was going to run away with it, the artist ended up winning Best Picture. Which I guess was alright, seeing as though it's like a homage and a send-up to the silent films of the 20s and 30s. Now, it didn't just win that either. It won Best Actor. It got the Best Actor award. It got the Best Original Score. And I think it's something like Best Costume Design or something. I'm not really sure. But it did pretty good. But again, throughout the night, you thought, by watching throughout the night, you thought Hugo was going to run away with it. Best Animated Feature to me was being a cartoon fan, being an animation and cartoon fan. Best Animated Feature, the winner being Rango, was kind of a surprise, because I thought maybe Kung Fu Panda 2 would get it, or maybe one of those 2 international films, or maybe even Puss in Boots. But I guess because Rango is so different in some ways, and he's in storytelling and everything, that I guess it would prove well enough to be the winner. But that's something too that I want to address real quickly. It seems to me that when it comes to Best Animated Feature, there are years like when you have the nominees, it's like they know who's going to win. You know who's going to win, and that animated picture does win. But then again, there are years when you don't know who's going to win because of the category, and yet it's like the voters are like, let's just have this one win and get it out of the way. And you would think those 2 international films that have been talked about would have won it. Well, I guess CGI is really dominating animation if Rango won, but I thought it was okay. It was okay. And again, Rango, speaking of original songs, maybe original whatever, could have been nominated, put in that category, but that didn't happen now, did it? Makes you wonder. The Best Actor went to the guy that was the lead actor and the artist, like I said. Meryl Streep got Best Actress. And I love how Meryl Streep, she basically comes up and acknowledges that there are those of us that are watching that are like, oh my gosh, again? But you have to understand this. Meryl never won Best Actress since about 1982. I was only 3 at that time. So for her to win it again, I thought was okay. Christopher Plummer winning Best Supporting Actor for The Beginners, I guess was sort of a nod, if you will, and sort of like showing appreciation for his hard work throughout I guess as they put it, hundreds of movies that he had done, and finally getting the nomination and the Oscar in the end. I know that some people are thinking, well, these guys did a pretty good job, like Jonah Hill did a good job, this guy did a good job. Let me explain something. Jonah Hill in Moneyball may have done a great enough job to be nominated, but when it comes to the final voting, the voters of the Academy of the Motion Picture Arts and Sciences probably look at Jonah Hill and like, yeah, he did okay, but you know what? The guy basically didn't do good movies before this. That's probably how they look at it, like, yeah, he did a great job in Moneyball, great enough to be nominated, but he wasn't great enough to win because of all the other movies he had done before this. You see, to me, what's going to happen is Jonah Hill is basically going to have to continuously do these kind of movies like he did with Moneyball before he probably gets that nomination, before he finally gets that nomination again and finally gets the nod. That's what I feel is going to happen. The Octavius girl, I think, I can't think of her name right now, whole name right now, winning for The Help. Through the previews and the clips and what people have talked about, I've heard people talk about and say about it, I think she definitely deserved it. It kind of shows that even an unknown can come out of nowhere and win, and she was an unknown. But again, coming into that area of Best Supporting Actor and Actresses, I know people like to see the upsets of the Oscars. And they would have loved to see Jonah Hill win or somebody else win. I mean, heck, this Octavius girl, she did, I think, was one of the upsets of the night, winning Best Supporting Actress. Now, as far as the other categories, like the Best Effects, Best Sound Mixing and all that, Best Makeup, I know some people will look at some of the nominees, like say Harry Potter and Transformers, and think, oh, they were only put in there so they could look like jokes to the winners and all that. And I understand, again, going back to what I said about the upsets and surprises, I know a lot of people, fans of Harry Potter, fans of Transformers, would have loved to see them pull out the upset. Hey, I would have loved to see Transformers Dark of the Moon win one of those awards, but they didn't, unfortunately. So, but again, the one saving grace they can say and put on the resume, for that Transformer franchise, is it did get an Oscar nomination. Is it going to get one probably in the next few years when they do the fourth one? Probably, but we're not really sure. Do you think Harry Potter fans are not happy that some of the categories it was nominated for didn't win in? Of course they're upset, but what are you going to do? Again, they're not. They're basically what they are is adaptations, is what they are. They're not, I guess as you would put it, original films. You know, so I mean, you have one that's adapted from a book series, and you got one that's adapted from a toy franchise or figure. Overall, I thought the Oscars were okay. I mean, again, 8 out of 5. They definitely need to improve in some areas. There's no doubt about it, like I mentioned. Billy Crystal, I thought, did good. And to be fair, I thought, no matter what people think, I thought James Franco and Anne Hathaway did good the year before. I know some people will be critical about them, especially the movie critics and those that criticize and work for things like Variety and the Hollywood Reporter, whatever you want to call it. But guess what? The only reason they're critical of those two in the job they did the year before is because Franco and Hathaway are of my generation, the Generation X kind of deal. So, again, overall, 8.5 out of 10. I did record it. It ran for, basically, from what my recording said, about 2 hours and 40 minutes. So, it did its job, and that's all I'm going to say. Video response down below. Tell me what you think. Comment if you like. And I will talk to you all later.